We're starting a weaving unit. The first part is going to be review. Work your way up through each level or each step. So before you can go on to the next project, you need to finish the first one. So the first, again, I know this is a review. I'm going to go over it really quickly, is we're going to do a basic weaving. So we're going to make our loom. You're going to take a piece of paper, fold it in half. You're only going to have 3 papers. We're not going to waste paper. So you're going to pick 3 papers. One of them is going to be your loom. You're going to take a scissors and you're going to just cut, stop. Start from the fold. Cut, stop before you get to the end. You should have at least 7 cuts. We're not going to make giant spaces in between. You're going to have 7 cuts. Open it up. This is your loom. Now your next piece of paper, you're going to have to think which way you're going to hold it to cut it. This one I already started cutting out of. So you have to make sure the paper matches up with the right way. And this is where you can cut straight, or if you want to do a little more creative and you do some different kind of cuts, you can do that as well. So then you cut your papers and you're ready to weave. I already started weaving this one. And you know, this is a checkerboard design. It should go out, over, under, over, under. The next one repeats. I want to show you what happens if you do it the wrong way. These 2 are done correctly. These 3 are not correctly. What's wrong with these? Okay, I see stripes. I should see stripes. I should see checks. So what happens when I do that is if I take it and I shake it, it's going to come loose. Now, I'm still shaking it. These 3 stayed in place. These did not. So think about if all our cloth and our clothing is made out of, is woven, it's made out of thread that's woven. Well, what happened to your clothes, of course? If it was done incorrectly, they would all come apart. So again, you're going to make sure you do the opposite. So if this one's over, I start it under. Over, so again, this is the basic weaving. This is step 1. I'm going to make sure I'm doing the opposite. And at the ends, you can either leave it, or if you want to put a little bit of glue stick on the ends to keep it in place, that's just fine. If you're not doing the right things with the materials, I do have a worksheet for you to do. So this is step 1. When you're done with step 1, then you can make it a little more complicated. I'm going to show you something else you can do for step 1 before I go on. If you wanted, you can do 1 color or 2, but no more than 2 colors for basic weaving. You can do thin, thick, thin, thick. That's one way to do it. To go to step 2 to make my more advanced weaving. This is going to look more like the kente cloth. What you do is you just take, actually, you know what? I'm going to do a thick one in here. I'm going to just slide this in to make it look a little more complicated, to have colors that are opposite way. You can have extra pieces of paper going different directions. So I could have my papers going, I can alternate. If I did, like, say, little yellow papers in every other one, that would be one way. If I did orange going this way, that would be the second way. I could also slide papers in over these yellow strips. That would be 3. Another way you can add is to do some decoration, like in the kente cloth examples. If you want to add something else to it, this makes it much more interesting to just take some markers, but you're going to keep it in a pattern. So you're not switching up your pattern and your color every time. You're doing something a little different. After you're done with the basic and the advanced, raise your hand. I'm going to check it. And then we're going to go on to knot tying. Again, review for some of you, but for some of you it might not be a review, because when we get to doing our weaving projects, you're going to have to be able to tie knots. You can turn this into a bracelet or necklace if you want to. I don't care. There's different ways to do knots. So you're going to have to take your 2 ends and join them. Most of you probably know this way. The basic, there's different ways to do knots. So you're going to have to take your 2 ends and join them. Most of you probably know this way, the basic knot way. There's different kinds of knots you can do. You can tie it together. This is the only time you can make a bracelet or necklace. If you make a bracelet, make sure you make it big enough to slide over the biggest part of your hand. Otherwise, you'll have to cut the bracelet off. If you finish that, you can see me and we can go on to another project. And then next week you'll be all set to do your yarn pocket weaving.